How can a bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? William Blake.
We're at a fundamental crossroads. Digitalization can advance us more rapidly in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, or it can deepen exclusion, divide us further, increase inequality. The choice is ours. For the first time, digital technology.
On August 26, 2020, the UN released this document. Unleashing potential of digital finance could have transformational impact on sustainable development, says group of financial, business, government, and development leaders convened by the UN Secretary General. Digital is supporting big data, artificial intelligence, and advancing cryptocurrencies and crypto assets, peer-to-peer lending, crowdfunding, and online marketplaces. This UN document specifically mentions cryptocurrency. It also mentions that the COVID pandemic has put a spotlight on digital finance. Governments can provide relief to the citizens instantly, delivering universal base income, fiscal policy immediately.
Can put economic power into the hands of people, the people that own today's global financial resources. What if every citizen was empowered to make financial choices that support the SDGs?
The UN's Sustainable Development Goals. It's the UN's agenda.
And was able to ensure that every last dollar was spent on what really matters to them: family, community, their country, and the planet.
An open platform where the citizens can see where the government is spending.
Is that if you built a system that allowed anybody to have access to that, then people would have to figure out like how to manage their own finances. It's almost like the bad side of be your own bank. It's like be your own bank, meaning, oh, you have to assess credit risk and you have to like worry about systemic risk and you have to, it's almost the bad side. But I still think that that's a great vision. I think one day we may be able to build the tools to allow people to manage that.
This is the chairman of the Monetary Authority of Singapore speaking at Jackson Hole. As you know, Ripple did a proof of concept with the Monetary Authority of Singapore.
How do we create digital platforms that small firms can plug into? Because it's small firms that benefit the most when you have digital platforms, when you have cloud platforms. All these require public policy to be focused on.
Set up the rules of the intranets that then connect to the global internet of value. They're building, we are watching. The problems that blockchain solves are the catalyst for this happening quicker. Look for debt, trade tensions, COVID, UBI. As the problems heat up, the closer we are. They're preparing.
Let's put citizens in the driving seat by enabling them to use their savings to finance their long-term development.
Are going to have access to these powerful tools like cryptocurrencies, and especially if things like decentralized finance catch on, then people will need sophisticated tools to interact with those systems because they're sophisticated systems. The solution can't be everybody has to become a financial expert and understanding all of the systems that they're working with, right?
This is an older document that I found stating that Ripple is being piloted by UNOPS, that is a division of the United Nations. It states that RippleNet will be the platform on which UNOPS banks will transfer between each other. Ripple is a perfect fit for the United Nations SDG.
Increasingly, mobile platforms and data analytics are bringing sophisticated financial services to mass markets. Governments are digitalizing public finance, whilst a third of US public equity trades are now being carried out by computer-managed funds.
Digital technologies, which are revolutionizing financial markets, can be a game changer in reaching our shared objective.
The Internet of Value is just one piece of the larger picture, a complete system that all technology converges. The Internet of Value is a major piece to that puzzle, but the end game is globalization through a public platform. Everything is watched, tracked, and exploited.
And Secretary General invited 17 global leaders from around the world in areas as diverse as financial regulation, policy, financial technology, financial institutions, and other experts to form a task force to consider how best to harness digitalization in advancing financing of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Like computers did not get mass adoption when you had to be a computer expert to use a computer. Automobiles didn't get mass adoption when you had to be a car expert and be your own mechanic to have a car. So if you think DeFi is going to take over the world and ordinary people are going to access these complex derivatives and credit systems and lending, then there's just going to have to be tools that make that easy for them to use. So you just have to sort of imagine that those tools are going to exist in the future. Otherwise, that's just not going to happen.
Envisaging a digital transformation at scale that better aligns with people's money with their needs collectively expressed by the Sustainable Development Goals. Each government's going to build a walled garden. Every citizen will participate in this walled garden, and all walled gardens will be bridged with the Internet of Value.
We have not begun to understand quite how transformative much of what we refer to perhaps as digital finance or fintech will be in the years to come.
What we've been tasked with is to look at digitalization and to try and understand how digitalization can be used and can be harnessed to finance the SDGs.
We have an historic opportunity to accelerate and expand the transformative impact of digitalization, in particular digital finance, which in this crisis became the lifeline for millions across the world. Globalization and control is the end game.
The Bank of Canada could consider issuing our own digital currency. The possible benefits is that we could create a product that would provide all the convenience and safety that we already provide with banknotes, but would do that in a digital context. The challenge is, how do you design it that provides some of those core benefits without sort of expanding some of the less savory aspects of what banknotes could be used?
The infrastructure or the rules of the new internet is built by the governments and central bankers. All governments will have their own rules. Those are the walled gardens that will connect to the global internet. Surveillance, taxation, that happens instantly. Data analysis, artificial intelligence will happen within the walled gardens.
Have people working on banking, people who are experts on payment systems, for example. And so it's really not just a matter of doing research, but it's now planning for alternative futures, thinking about how the financial system and the economy might evolve with technology and what role we might continue to play.
The name of the game is to keep you financially and technologically ignorant so they can continue to exploit you through mainstream media. The government will create the rules and your life will be integrated into this platform where they can better understand you by your actions. And after a better understanding of you than even you, they can exploit you. Brace yourself, folks.
Today, they have completed their task, prepared a report that includes an ambitious action agenda that will fulfill the mandate that was set to them.
Here in Zimbabwe, 90% of the adult population is already registered on EcoCash, the mobile money platform. Because of this deep penetration, it enabled us to retool, repurpose rapidly during this COVID-19 crisis. Employers were still able to pay their employees while they were still at home without incurring any additional fees. We also launched a COVID digital insurance, where anyone who held insurance and came forward for testing, and if they tested positive for COVID, immediately received a $5,000 payout.
This is disguised for the greater good. You will get free money from the government, and in return you will receive a digital identity that is tracked and studied by artificial intelligence.
Our Pathfinder initiative, the Digital Governance of Infrastructure initiative, or as we call it, Infrastructure 360, enables investors, governments, citizens to have a complete view of nearly every piece of information about infrastructure projects globally. This will enable governance, but it will enable more funding to go to the right type of infrastructure projects to support the SDGs.
Cheating on your taxes is a thing of the past. They will be watching. The financial crisis, the banks were bailed out, and 80% of Americans were against the bailouts, yet it happened. We are in another financial crisis, and when they do it again, this is how they are going to fix for the future. The public will be able to see everything that is going on this platform. You'll know where all of your money is going. All of your tax money is going to be watched, and you'll be able to see where it's going.
While the SARS pandemic didn't have lasting impacts in 2005, the 2008 subprime crisis certainly did. And our economies, they eventually recovered, but societal scars remain.
They have painted themselves into a corner with debt. There are no other choices. They need to reset before the wealth gap expands and the peasants get violent. After they rob the world of its wealth, they're changing the game to control. UBI is the present-day opium of the masses. It's to stop us from violence when our children are starving.
When too big to fail global banks were bailed out and struggling homeowners weren't, it stoked the belief that the system is rigged and that globalization benefits a few at the expense of many. This contributed to the broader decline of trust in public institutions and experts and a rise in populism.
All of these solutions require better digital infrastructure, enhanced capabilities, and universal access. Defenses are needed to ensure against cyber vulnerability, fraud, illicit financial flows, and algorithms that can discriminate against particular groups.
These are the threats, and this is the reasons why they need to be in charge.
Digitalization needs to enhance the alignment of finance with the SDGs rather than, for example, increasing short-termism or market concentration. Realizing these solutions, overcoming barriers and mitigating risks requires concerted actions by many different actors.
Ripple is very active with the IMF.
By policymakers and financial regulators, by financial institutions in the markets themselves, including new fintech innovators.
Ripple is a new fintech innovator. When the kings have it too good and the peasants have it too bad, they will storm the castle. They know this. They have to change the rules of the game before the peasants become aware. A tyrant is the worst disease and the cause of all others. If you enjoy my content, please consider joining my Patreon. Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing.